A basic inspection on a Japanese Akiya costs roughly 50 to 70,000 yen, around $300 to $500, on a house that might have cost only a few times that to buy. It is the single easiest fee to talk yourself out of paying. It is also the fee this channel refuses to call optional, because of exactly what it tends to find: mold, termites, and rot. 3 problems a listing photo will never show you, hiding behind walls that look perfectly fine from the doorway. These 3 problems share one cause: time spent empty. A house that is lived in gets aired out, heated, walked on, noticed. A house that sits vacant for 5 or 10 years does none of that, and Japan's humid summers and wide seasonal temperature swings turn an empty building into close to ideal conditions for exactly the damage this video covers. That is also why an inspection matters more here than it would for an occupied resale. The seller often has not lived in the house recently enough to know what is actually happening behind the walls, so nobody can simply tell you. Start with the most common finding. A house closed up for years, in Japan's humid climate, traps moisture with nowhere to go, and mold spreads quietly behind wallpaper, under flooring, and inside closets that were never opened for a decade. It is rarely visible from a casual walkthrough. An inspector checks exactly the places a buyer wouldn't think to look: behind built-in cabinets, beneath tatami mats, around window frames where condensation collects. Mold remediation itself is rarely the expensive part. Discovering it after you already own the house, mid-renovation, with the budget already spent elsewhere, is what actually costs money. Japan is home to more than 20 species of termite, and 2 in particular, the native Yamato termite and the more aggressive Formosan termite, are responsible for the damage that actually threatens a wooden structure's integrity. National spending on termite prevention and treatment runs into the hundreds of millions of dollars a year, a genuine, ongoing cost of owning wooden buildings in this climate, not a rare misfortune. The frustrating part is how invisible the damage stays until it is severe: hollow-sounding beams, small mud tubes running along a foundation, discarded wings near a windowsill. An inspector trained to look for these signs can catch termite damage while it is still a repair. Left alone, it becomes a structural rebuild. Rot is often what mold and termite damage eventually become if nobody catches them first. Water intrusion from a compromised roof or failed plumbing softens wood over years, and by the time rot is visible to an untrained eye, it has usually already spread well beyond the visibly damaged section. This is the finding most likely to change a buyer's renovation budget entirely, because rot in a load-bearing beam or foundation post is not a cosmetic fix. It is the difference between a renovation and a partial rebuild, and it is exactly the kind of number this channel keeps insisting buyers get in writing before closing, not after. None of this means walking away from every house with a bad report. It means the report changes what you offer, not whether you buy. A house with early-stage mold in one closet is a different purchase than a house with termite damage in a load-bearing beam, even if both look identical from the entryway. And the gap between those 2 outcomes is exactly what a few $100s and a few hours buys you before you sign anything. Buyers who skip this step are not saving money. They are just choosing to find out later, at renovation prices instead of negotiation prices. None of these 3 findings should be treated as a reason to walk away from a cheap Akiya. Mold, termite damage, and rot are common precisely because these houses sat empty for years, not because the buyer did anything wrong. What separates a manageable renovation from an expensive mistake is knowing which of the 3 you are dealing with, and how far it has spread, before you own the problem instead of just the house. A $300 report is not a formality. On a building this age, it is the only thing standing between an educated guess and an actual plan. If this made Japan's empty house market a little clearer, subscribe to Akiya Handbook, the channel that explains how Japan's cheap houses actually work, honestly, and without selling you anything. There is also a free guide waiting in the description, the Akiya Buyer's Starter Guide, How to Buy a Cheap House in Japan Without Getting Burned. 11 chapters on the truth about so-called free houses, the hidden costs, and who should not buy. No hype, and completely free. The link is below. Thanks for watching.